Tennis has Wimbledon. Cricket has Lords. Stock car racing, we have this place, the Daytona International Speedway. 2.5 miles of high banks built adjacent to the venue for the first ever NASCAR race, Daytona Beach. And we're actually here tonight for the first round of the ANZCAR Thunder, brought to us by 131 Web Radio. And joining us for the first time once again this year is Danny G. How you going, Dan?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks. Hello, everybody. It's going to be a great year.
So we've got a massive field out here tonight, as we saw in the truck race that was held on Monday by ANZCAR as well. A lot of interest in this championship at the moment, and as well there might be, because this series that we're watching here is the feeder series. It's the series that if you're aiming to compete in the ANZCAR Cup, you must do well in this series. Also, if you're not looking at stepping up necessarily, but you're looking for a little bit more of a casual racing experience than playing with the big boys in the Cup, this is where they race. So that's why we've got a big spread of drivers here tonight. We've got a few Cup drivers in there and a lot of new faces as well. So please bear with us if we do take a moment to identify one or two of the drivers out there, because I'd say about 75% of this field is either almost new or completely new. So it's going to be an interesting night to see how these new guys actually compare to the experienced runners.
Yeah, it will be, and it'll also be interesting to see, like, if they can sort of team up together, I guess, and see how these sort of satellite drivers, I think I've heard that reference before, a satellite driver, sort of a single driver, if they can actually get up there and win this without teammates, because teammates play a massive role in these sorts of racing tracks.
Of course they do. You can barely overtake somebody without the help of somebody in there drafting you. So that's going to be a very, very big thing. Teamwork. We're going to be talking a lot about teams tonight. And just as we go on into qualifying, just want to have a bit of a chat about a couple of things that we may want to watch during the course of the race. And for me, the thing that I'm going to be keeping an eye on is the form of Josh Mickelmore. He's had almost a perfect ANZCAR Speed Week here at Daytona so far. He took pole for the Daytona 500, won the Daytona 500 on the Sunday. He came back the following day and won the truck race here as well. So this is the last one to tick off that list for Josh Mickelmore to see if he can make it an absolute clean sweep for the start of this season. What will you be watching, Dan?
I think I'll be watching Ben Doherty, to be honest. He had a great sort of run in the Daytona 500, and I think if he can keep his car clean tonight, he'll be up there. He was pretty quick in practice there too.
Yeah, he certainly was. So we're just actually watching Phil Otto now. The drivers have jumped into their qualifying session. We're just watching Phil in that #1 DPR Ben Max Mustang, and he is just coming around to start his first qualifying lap. And quite often the technique here, especially amongst the more experienced runners, is to run their first time lap, because of course they get two, and to run that first time lap around the top, take the extra distance, extra opportunity to build up and actually gain their speed, and then drop down to the apron, or not next to the apron, for their one fast lap to try and get the best possible lap time in.
Yeah, so they will be running up the top there, probably just above the white line or around it, and it is significantly quite longer, and you do get a much better run, especially coming back onto the front stretch to start your second lap, and they'll duck down, pretty much try and hug that yellow line.
And that seems to be the tactic that Otto is running at the moment, right up there by the wall, as close as he dare get without jagging the wall, and actually managing to dent that Mustang. And as he comes through the try over here, we're going to see him drop low. He does that, and now he's going to be trying to hug that bottom line all the way around to get the absolute best time he possibly can out of this car.
Yeah, and it is quite bumpy on that yellow line, and your tyres actually can grip into it and slow you down. So he's just staying above it, which is pretty good. Almost touches it there, but he gets a good run down onto the back stretch.
Yeah, certainly does. So he's going to be absolutely firewalling that throttle at the moment, keeping it buried in that Mustang to try and squeeze every last mile an hour out of this thing as he enters turn 3 and 4. And he's just putting those inside wheels just on that yellow line, running very, very precise actually, Phil Otto. And as he comes out of turn 4, he's going to hug down to that bottom line, and we'll see what he crosses the line in. We've had a few car set times already, nothing really representative of a fast time yet, I don't think. We'll see where Phil goes, and he goes straight to the top of the table with that, with a 49.69. But just as I say that, he's actually knocked off by Nigel Petrie, who's done a 49.655.
Yeah, so they've had 10 drivers so far, complete laps, but I think most of them on their I think we're with Gavin Sadler now.
Yeah, just having a look at Gavin Sadler there in the Ultimate Dirt TV sponsored number 71 Toyota Camry, and they've adopted a slightly different look this year. If you remember back to that team last year, they were running predominantly white livery, and now this year in that beautiful fluoro, almost greeny yellow that they're running on that team. Both Gavin and James Robbie running in that team together, and Gavin just dropped down a little bit earlier than some of the other guys do. A lot of them sort of do it halfway through the tri-oval. He sort of dropped down as he's come through 3 and 4 and run a very tight line across the tri-oval. So we'll see if this makes any difference for Gavin.
Yeah, that was interesting. I haven't seen that, actually, to be honest, by anybody. That's made me think he can gain more speed coming down the bank.
Yeah, potentially. Gravity does definitely come into it, so we'll see if that gives him any kind of competitive advantage there as he runs along the back straight. Coming now to turn 3 and 4, he's keeping it very, very tight, very precise, just sitting a little bit above the yellow line there, just maybe to avoid those bumps that you did mention before, Dan. And as he comes out of turn 4, he's going to enter the tri-oval now, just comes past the entrance to the pit lane into the tri-oval, will come across the stripe, duck into the apron. That's a bit naughty. You're not really supposed to be doing that. And he has gone P4. P4. Good lap there from Gavin Sadler. I think you'd be reasonably happy with that.
Yeah, he should be, although he's just dropping back now down to 6th. You got Ryan Jones just took pole. Jackson Caleb up there in 2nd.
Okay, so just having a bit of a search through now to see which other drivers are on the track, and I can see Stephen Williams is out there at the moment. He's on his fast lap, and so you can see him running around the bottom there. He's already done his first time lap, which a lot of the drivers, as we mentioned, use for a warm-up, and as the number 98 comes onto the back stretch, it appears to be taking a fairly similar line to a lot of the other drivers, so we're probably in for a very, very similar time. But you can see these times are so close at the moment. There's a 1/10 of a second between 1st and 5th at the moment. In fact, no, sorry, it's a 100th of a second between 1st and 5th. So very, very close indeed.
Yeah, it is close, and he's just coming up to the tri-oval now, so we'll see where he ends up.
And as he comes across the line, yes, we can see here, and he's gone position 2, so that's got him a spot on the front row. Very well executed lap there by Stephen Williams in the 98, and I think all of those guys down there out of Illusion Sim Sport's going to be very happy indeed. Okay, so just watching the man himself, the man who's won so much in ANZCAR over the years. Hasn't won anything yet this season, though, and he'll be looking to rectify that with a win here tonight in the Thunder Series. And he's just out there on his first lap, running around at the top of the track. So, Dan, you actually teamed up with this guy over the off-season and now running another Niche Motorsports concern with Jason Martin. So how do you think he's going to be approaching this one?
I think pretty much just like the last 2 races. Him and his teammate Josh Mickelmore sort of come 1 and 2, so they want to finish this one off and sort of take over Daytona for the week. That'll be great for the team, I'd say.
And what's his secret to his speed, Dan? You know him now better than anyone. Come on, spill the beans.
I think he's just good.
KGB couldn't have said it better themselves, mate. Absolute master keeper of secrets. But anyway, we've got Jason Martin. He's come through, just completed his first time lap. He's gone 23rd with that one. Of course, that isn't the fast lap. This will be the fast lap. And you can see that he's doing something a little bit different to some of the other drivers in that he was at sort of centre track as he came into turn 1 now, dropping right down to the bottom. We'll see if he does anything different coming out of turn 2. He does. He's just sitting a little bit higher off that bottom line, maybe not wanting to scrub off as much speed by turning those front tyres a little bit tighter to try and keep down on that bottom line at the expense, of course, of a little bit of an extra distance. So tucking down nice and tight now between 3 and 4, coming out through turn 4 now, out onto the front stretch. He's going to run through the tri-oval, keep it nice and tight there to the bottom, and we'll see where Jason comes. All right, he's gone through and he's only 20th fastest, so that different technique did not work for him at all. He's way back in the pack.
Yeah, he is. He's usually pretty quick up in these sorts of tracks, so I'm not sure what went wrong.
All right, so now we're looking at his teammate, Josh Mickelmore, the man who's got a perfect record so far in these ANZCAR Daytona Speed Weeks. And he's just started his first lap. As has been the case with just about everyone else, he's got to be running around in that top lane, building up that speed, building up that momentum, wanting to get himself all sorted and ready for that one fast lap here.
Yeah, he will be, and he's been on pole for the last two, so the Daytona 500 and the truck race on Monday, he started on pole, so we'll see what his sort of line is actually going through qualifying here on this next lap, see if he can't grab another pole.
Yeah, he's definitely the one to watch at the moment, isn't he? So just as he comes 3 and 4, just jumping on board with him as well, just keeping an eye on the line. He's running right up against the wall at the moment, coming down through the trioval to start the fast one, and he's going to drop in any moment now. As he does, drops across there, runs on that yellow line, and if the form guide is going to hold true at any point so far, we're going to see him go straight to the top. Of course, he's got to actually do it yet, so we'll see what he's able to produce.
Yeah, and he does keep off that yellow line there. It's sort of similar to Jason. I don't think as much. But yeah, different to what I do. Maybe I have to watch this guy a little bit more.
I think we've all got to be watching this guy a little bit more with his form so far. He had a kind of sporadic season last season, didn't he? You know, he kind of missed some races and he came in. When he did race, he was very competitive, but he wasn't up to his normal high standards, what we saw from him in his first few races and seasons with ANZCAR. So he's back full force, running his own team this season, head down, very dedicated, working very hard at it, and we'll see what he's able to produce here as he comes across the line. Runs across the stripe and goes straight to P1. So the form guide stays the form guide, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I don't know if there's any other car. There's a whole bunch that haven't gone out yet, but time's running out. I'm not sure they're going to get laps in.
Yeah, time definitely running out. I don't think there's going to be much time for anyone else to get a lap in. There's a large number of cars that have elected not to qualify, and that is a fairly common tactic here at Daytona as well. The thinking obviously being that you are going to be out of any trouble if it happens, if you hang back at the start and kind of let the race unfold in front of you before making you move up a little bit further. So anyway, we are at the end of qualifying now. We've got a massive grid to run through, so we're going to try and run through that very quickly without delaying ourselves anymore and miss the start of the race. So we've got, as mentioned, on pole, Josh Mickelmore, that man again, at 49.5 seconds. Fantastic job from him. Outside row 1, we've got Ryan Jones. What a great result for Ryan in the first race of the season here, starting outside row 1. And then row 2, Raymond Yeager, Darren McKenzie. Great results for those two guys as well. And then Stephen Williams managed to hold on to 5th place. He's going to start in the 3rd row alongside Michelle Callow. Jackson Callow, I should say. I should always not read that off the screen. And then we've got Nigel Petrie and Brian Richmond on row 4. Then Skurlock and Sadler on row 5. Otto and Lawson on row 6. Row 7, Riley Blythe and Jacob Knight. Row 8, Bradley Sheeny and Ryan Bull. Row 9, Gareth Anderson and Norman Clark. Odd to see Norman back there, but he'll be looking to work his way forward, absolutely. Then row 10, Leo Smith and Dwayne Priest. A couple of more experienced drivers there. So going back from row 11, we've got Robert Mason and, would you believe it, 22nd place, Jason Martin. Then going back to row 12, Caleb Beecroft and Steve Hoppett, Mr. 131 Web Radio himself. Then Adam Beachy and Tristan Yelland, who will be starting from the back of the grid because he did get a penalty in the practice session for an indiscretion there. And then we've got Michael Latta and Broken Pickett Norris as the last two drivers to set qualifying times. And then going back further than that, we've got row 15, Braden Bullis and Jake Maloney. Isn't that a good row 15? Those two, both race winners in ANZCAR. And then, of course, right behind them, we've got Matt Danson and Joseph Tavora. And then we've also got Matthew Raymond, Andre Heidstra, Mirko Doutnak and Dave Douglas. Ben Doherty, he's going to need to come forward a long way for your prediction to come through there, Daniel. Then Brett Hender, Matt Hunter, Aaron Wilton, Kai Sloggett, and Nicholas Shields rounding out our field.
Yeah, it's a big one. 40 drivers if they all take the grid. It's going to be interesting. But, you know, I've got some faith in it. There's a lot of new drivers, but they seem to do pretty well on Monday night in the truck. So, you know, fingers crossed this shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we'd all be aware, anybody who knows this style of racing, it's really a patience game. It's a game of patience and maturity. A lot of people who perhaps don't watch this style of racing very often don't realise it just looks to them as though you're holding the throttle flat and driving around, which in a lot of ways you are, but it's more about the mental side. It's more about the judgment calls that you make during the race, and sometimes all the judgment in the world doesn't help you either. You wind up smashed up. But let's hope that we get a nice long green flag run in here to get a bit of an idea of the form guide, and I'm interested to see how Mr. Mickelmore runs off a pole there with no help from a teammate. Okay, so just rolling around now on the pace lap. So we've got Josh Whittemore and Ryan Jones there. So everybody's going to be getting themselves set now. They're going to want to bunch up a little bit more than they are at the moment. I'm sure they will do that through turns 3 and 4. And then we'll be able to get ourselves up and going for this first race of the season. Everybody, of course, the Cup drivers, they're sort of safe in the knowledge this is sort of the secondary championship. But the guys who aren't in the Cup, this is make or break for them. This is how they earn their spot through to the Cup Series. So they've got to be working very, very hard to make sure they stay out of trouble and make sure they get a good result here as well.
Yeah, just pace car's dropped off. We're just about to go green flag here. Josh takes them through the tribal, and we are green, and they are off.
Yeah, we are off. I do believe we just lost picture very momentarily. It will be back very shortly, but I can tell you that Josh Mickelmore has run through into the lead. Ryan Jones has cut down inside of him, and looks like Darren McKenzie and Raymond Yeager are going to fight out third. It looks like McKenzie going to be reasonably well satisfied with staying up in the top row and try and run that one around and make a push for the lead.
Yeah, there's just there's a bit of a gap there in the top line, so it's just not going to progress that much through the corners, but the bottom line seems to be getting a lot of energy here as these guys are, the 11's right under the 31 there, almost bump drafting, I think it was, heading into turn 3.
Yeah, heading into turn 3, we've definitely got those 2 rows there going, haven't we? And just having a look now just to see who's joined up in that top row. Looks like possibly we've got Callow in there, we've got to believe Brian Richmond up there as well, trying to make that run there around the outside. Okay, so we are just going to lose picture just very quickly. We've just got to change a couple of things on the settings, so just bear with us. But I can tell you, we will just run it as a radio show for a couple of seconds here. I can tell you they are still fanned out to 2 lines, pretty much the entire length of the field. Ooh. And that bottom line now consisting of Mickelmore, Jones, Raymond Yeager, Stephen Williams and Gavin Sadler in that lead pack.
Yeah, that just caught my attention. The 11 there, I think, of Jones just bumped after Mickelmore on the backstretch, almost turned him around, and that's why he's lost a lot of speed there. I think he's still in the lead now. I don't know if you guys can see this, but yeah, he did lose a fair bit of ground.
Yeah, he has lost a bit of ground, and McKenzie actually making a push for the lead there on the outside. Really needs Callow to get right up there behind him and give him a nice push, because Mickelmore holding on to the lead at the moment, and they're still running 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 all the way down. We can see a couple of drivers making moves in between the lanes, top to bottom, just getting themselves all sorted out and in what they're going to believe strategically is going to be the best place for them as this race goes on.
Yeah, and there's different options. I mean, it's quite simple on the bottom, I guess. On the top side, usually gets the better runs off the corners down the straights, pick up a lot of speed and a lot of positions there. But they really don't hold it that well, I guess, through the corners. And unfortunately, on the top side, if something goes wrong, you've really got nowhere to go.
Precisely. So we can definitely see 2 packs forming now. The last driver pretty much in this lead pack is the number 38 there of Leo Smith. And there's a bit of a gap, and Jason Martin is leading up the secondary pack, if you like. And perhaps a bit of strategy there by Jason, just wanting to stay out of the trouble and not have too much issue. But just while we're looking back at that, Ryan Jones has actually taken the lead away from Josh Mickelmore. Mickelmore now just sitting on the inside, just actually in behind Ryan Jones. So Ryan Jones leading the way at Daytona.
Yeah, that was a pretty big move by Jones. He jumped on the outside, he got pushed to the lead, and then dropped back down in the first place.
Okay, so hopefully we're going to have pictures back for you soon, but I can tell you Ryan Jones is leading the way. Josh Mickelmore has actually just jumped out ahead of Darren McKenzie into that the lead of that outside row, and they've made a big push on the outside, and Josh Mickelmore's run through the lead, but Mickelmore in the fence. Mickelmore in the fence. It looks as though he got hit in the back by maybe McKenzie, and that's taken Ryan Jones out of the running as well, and that's a disaster.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, believe we just got video back now, and it looks as though Darren McKenzie got into the back of Josh Mickelmore and has turned him around. Ryan Jones involved in that one as well, and we've actually got cars that have gone everywhere into the back of that one, so I'd say half the field is going to be carrying damage after that one. Absolutely shocking start for a lot of them. It looks as though just trying to have, I think it'd almost be quicker to run through who wasn't involved in that. But there's got to be a lot of cars there carrying aero damage, so it's almost going to be a case of who's carrying less aero damage. who's going to be in the best position for the race win, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can get away with a little bit of damage. I mean, you might be able to keep up with the draft, but ideally you don't want any damage at all. You want it to be clean, and it was pretty much a wreck in front of the field.
Yeah, big shame because we had two big packs running there together. We're going to see a lot of drivers heading for the pit lane now as well. I'm just waiting for the field to sort of cross the line so the scoring updates and we get a bit of an idea of where everyone's sort of sitting. The order's been so badly jumbled up, but I think in terms of what happened with Micklemore there, looks as though, I'm not sure if, yeah, it looks as though Darren McKenzie just got into the tail of him and turned him around, so that's unfortunate for those guys. And just looking up a little bit further, trying to get an updated order for you, it looks as though we've actually got Jackson Callow sat there in the lead ahead of Brian Richmond and Jacob Knight running in third position. So big jump from all of those guys, especially Jacob Knight finding himself up there in third.
Yeah, pretty much everyone at the top there seemed to get wiped out in the first top 10. I think there's a couple of guys drove through it, so I guess if you're hanging back there, you sort of would have got through it, but the middle of the field just got pounded. I think that might have been, I'm not sure about the car count, but that could have been just as big as that Indianapolis wreck. Yeah,
of course, the famous Indianapolis wreck that kicked off, between Matt Danson and Daniel Stevens, if memory serves. And I'm just having a look back at some of the more prominent guys, prominent names who started further back in the pack. But just having a quick look at Jason Martin, his car is absolutely pristine. He did not pick up any damage in that whatsoever. Having a look back there at Jake Maloney, he is absolutely pristine as well. No issues there. Matt Danson looks as though he hasn't picked up any damage either. Whereas Josh Micklemore is actually not that bad. He's a bit bent up on the tail, a little bit on the front, but he's not looking that bad. And we might actually just go back and have a quick look as well at Ryan Jones. I'm just trying to locate him in the field. It looks as though he's actually down in the pit lane getting service at the moment, which is unfortunate for him. Looks as though he's picked up quite a bit of damage, especially on that outside front fender. A lot of drivers picking up some repairs at the moment as well, getting those cars as straightened out as they possibly can before we go back on the green.
Yeah, when the 31 car slid down in front of Jones, they made contact, but I think Jones was able to drive through it, but he's obviously got damage here. He's spending a lot of time up pit road here.
Yeah, certainly is. It's just going to be so painful for him and those other guys like Jaeger who were running right there at the front, just watching all of these drivers that they out-qualified streaming out of the pits ahead of them. I can tell you from experience, it's one of the most galling feelings in racing, and it's unfortunate really for those guys. Raymond Jaeger just making his way out of the pits now as well. There's got to be a lot of bent-up cars there. Darren McKenzie's got plenty of damage on that on the front of that car as well. And a few guys just streaming out of the pits, just having a look at Michael Latta. His car's completely clean. When I say clean, of course, I'm referring to the amount of damage on the car. Jackson Callow, he's leading the way at the moment, but he's got a fair bit of damage on the front of that Mustang. Steve Williams is looking absolutely pristine. They're in what's being scored as third place at the moment. So we'll see what kind of speed everyone's got when the race actually resumes.
Yeah, and there's a fair few fast guys up there that don't have damage. Like you said, Matt Danson, Braden Bullock looks clean, Jason Martin looks clean. So there's still some big players out there.
Yeah, and if those big players decide to all hook up and sort of time their run and make a run, it'll be interesting to see the way in which some of these less experienced guys that perhaps haven't got anyone to work with, actually work to counter that. If they try and sort of jump in with them and work with them, or if they try to fight them, and if they try to fight them, how they actually try to fight them. So remains to be seen, but we will find out shortly because the lights on the pace car are out and we're about to go green once more. We've got Jacob Knight leading, and guess who's in second place? Jason Martin.
Yeah, he's there already. I'm pretty sure he did not pit. I'm just having a look through the field. It looks like there's at least two Illusion Motorsports that are pretty clean, which is Stephen Williams and Aaron Wilton, so they'll be looking to hook up with each other. And there's another one back there. He's just dropping back through the field now. I'm not too sure what's going on with that one, but he's dropping back to the tail end.
Okay, we've got Adam Beachy up there in third place, so a quick shout out to him. He actually only joined the ANZCAR League a matter of minutes before this race started. And here he is up there right now, sitting in third position after dodging just about all of that wreck. Can't see any damage on that number 40 at all. So shout out to him, and hopefully he's able to keep his head, keep his composure, and get a good finish out of this, because it'll be a great way to kick off his ANZCAR career.
Yeah, it would be. He's sitting in the right spot.
Certainly is, and of course he's got Ryan Bull, another new face on the outside, carrying a little bit of damage there as well. We're going to see what Jacob Knight's able to do. He's going to lead them away when the pace car ducks off, which it should be doing. Sorry, I did say that we were actually 1 lap to green. We're not. It actually confused me when all the drivers fanned out into 2 lanes, but the lights very much still on that pace car, and now they are out. So we do have 1 more lap to green this time, I promise.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened, but to me it looked like something between Dwayne Priest and Jackson Callow in the 46. They traded positions through turns 3 and 4 on that. I'm not sure if that triggered the safety car to stay out another lap before him to sort it out or not. But I definitely saw them, trade positions.
Okay, so as they roll around now, I guess they've got that big wreck out of the way. There's a few drivers there carrying damage, and I suppose it's now going to be a case of damage limitation for those drivers that are carrying bent panels and those kind of things.
Yeah, so there is actually a fair few damaged cars up there, even starting in the second and the third row actually. They're all pretty much damaged, so I think you're going to see a couple of distinct packs, but it's going to take a bit of time for these guys that haven't got any damage to actually work through the damaged pack cars to get to the front, so that's going to be interesting too.
Yeah, it's always a bit of an exercise in patience, isn't it? If you know you got a nice undamaged car, it's going to be fast, and you don't want all the other clean cars to get away from you. You really need to get through those guys as quickly as you possibly can, but by the same token, you rush it, you risk a wreck. So unfortunately, it's going to be one of those balancing acts for them, and hopefully we don't see any more drivers taken out by that kind of thing, and we get to see a nice clean race, at least for a little while. Yeah,
we should do. Let's see what they can do. Got like one of the best drivers up there in second, and a couple of rookies there. It's pretty much smothered in rookies at the moment, but anyway, green flag is just about to come out, and see how they go.
Absolutely, we will. So just watching, and Jacob Knight slams that throttle down and drives out away from Jason Martin. He's actually put a bit of a gap on the pack, and on a super speedway, that is a little bit of a rookie error, because the last thing that you want is a gap to the guys drafting behind you. And that might actually give Jason Martin the opportunity here to make a really good run on him and take the lead on the back stretch.
And he goes up high to try and do that. I'm just having a look back at Ryan Bull. I think he restarted 4th. He's dropped through the field, got a lot of damage. He's just not up to speed, but they've all gotten around him so far, which is good. Jason Martin, he's just pulled out to the lead and see him drop down here. He's getting a good shove here, and they go 3 wide into turn 3 almost, but he does drop down.
Yeah, he got a nice push there from Brian Richmond, didn't he, in that number 47 Ballistic Racing Team car. Yeah, just a rookie error there from Jacob Knight, going a little bit too early and leaving himself a little bit susceptible to the drafting cars behind. But he's got in there up behind Jason Martin now, so he's going to be running there with someone, which is going to be good for him. And then, of course, we've got Adam Beachy and Brian Richmond sort of deciding that 3rd position. It looks as though Richmond just out, getting a little bit hung out to dry out there. He hasn't really got anyone working with him, and he's going to be relying on that side draft to try and actually put him around. Oh, and he's gone straight to the side of Beachy. Brian Richmond there, straight to the side of Beachy. I'm not sure which one of those drivers actually got into who. It's going to be very, very difficult to tell. But my initial takeaway from that was that Brian Richmond actually tried a little bit too hard on the side draft and managed to get down into the side of Beachy, and indeed that is what appears to have happened, and that's put Beachy on his roof. Unfortunate, because he was having such a good run up there.
Yeah, he just pinched him down a little too much. That was a pretty awesome roof slide on his roof, at least half the backstretch there, and I don't think anyone else got involved, so that's another good thing.
Yeah, we do find ourselves under caution again, unfortunately. It looks as though that number 40 of Beachy is not yet off the track either. It's just actually sat down there on the apron. He is moving now. So he may have just been taking a couple of moments to sort of compose himself. And now he's going to drive back towards the pit lane. And I imagine that Camaro is going to have to go behind the wall. That looks not too flash at all.
No, it doesn't look good at all.
All right, so just watching some of the other drivers now. Beach is just sort of recovering that car. I'm surprised he hasn't actually taken the tow back to the pits. Looks as though he wants to drive it, but he's just trying to stay out the way of everyone else as well. And Jason Martin leading the way. We'll see what Jason decides to do. He may decide to duck to the pits now. He'll be working out in his head how much fuel he needs to get to the end and when he has to pit to actually affect that, make sure he gets back to the, he can make it to the end without any further stops. And doing his trademark little wiggle towards the pit lane, annoys everyone, fools no one, and he's decided to stay out for this time and probably wait for the next one.
Yeah, I'm just having a look to see if anyone actually did come down pit road. There's a couple of drivers.
Yeah, there's a couple, but I think it's all more sort of damage related. I think definitely Ryan Bull's there. Gavin Sadler, unfortunately, got caught up in that one as well. So he's in there. I can see one of the Illusions cars coming in, actually, that didn't look to be too badly damaged. That's Skurlock, so he's decided to take some repairs. And also Josh Mickelmore coming into the pits, probably just looking to get a bit more of that aero damage fixed. I think his strategy here is going to try to not fall off that lead lap if he can.
Yeah, and just as before, as I said, that nobody else got involved in that wreck. I think Skurlock, I did see an Illusion kayak, like, wasn't too hard, but he did whack into somebody as they were stopped on the racetrack. Wasn't too hard, so he's probably coming in just to fix that damage.
All right, we've actually got Nigel Petrie in the lane as well, and I have to say that just having a look at that car, that number 17 car, it is one of my favourite cars in the race. Have a look at the paint scheme on that number 17 Dick Johnson Mustang throwback scheme. Looks absolutely fantastic.
It does, and it doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty clean. Oh no, he doesn't at all. He's got damage everywhere.
Yeah.
The side of it looked good.
Yeah, the side looked great, but the ends, the bits that count, not so much. So anyway, they've just about all cycled through the pit stops now, and Jason Martin, as we mentioned, did stay out. So he is leading this one from Jacob Knight there in second place still, and Jackson Callow carrying a little bit of damage there, but still sitting there in a solid third place. And then we've got Jason Williams, who's looking very, very straight indeed, and Tristan Yellen. He started from the back of the grid. He actually got a penalty in practice for an infringement there, started from the back of the grid, and has now actually moved his way up through all of that carnage into a top 5 position. So he's going to be grinning from ear to ear at the moment as well.
Yeah, he will be, and I'm just looking back through the field for my guy Ben Doherty, and he looks actually pretty clean. So I've still got some faith in for a top 5 here.
Yeah, still a possibility. I think it's a possibility for everyone at the moment. Just having a look at some of these cars. I'm just trying to get a little bit of an idea about who's carrying damage. I'm just watching Brett Hender in the pits at the moment. He looks as though he's actually stepped out of that car. I'm not sure why. That car looks absolutely clean. And no, he is actually in that car. It was just a little glitch on my end that made him look like that car was empty, but he's taken service and he's back out on the track now. Keep an eye on Brett as well. That car is absolutely spotless, and he'll be ready to go when the green flag comes out.
Yeah, he will be, and I'm just having a look to see if there's any more MFR cars. I can only see Norman and what's his name, Robert Mason. I know he drives for MFR too, so yeah, I just thought I'd see a couple more of them out there, but obviously not. Kai Sloggett, he didn't start the race.
Yeah. Of course, he had a couple of issues in the truck race and wasn't there for the Daytona 500 at all, unfortunately, Kai Sloggett. So hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more of him as the season goes on. But as you mentioned, Norman Clark, he's there in position. Where is he? Position 10 at the moment, carrying a little bit of damage on the outside front of that Mustang. But he's looking fairly solid as well. He's definitely in better shape than a lot of the cars in front and behind him. So we'll see if he's able to make any kind of inroads on the front pack when we go green again, which shouldn't be too far away. Should be only a matter of a lap or so.
Yeah, I mean, if the pack can stay too wide, I think with that sort of damage, he'll be able to stick at least with the pack. I'm not sure how he'll be out in the lead with that damage if he's got clean cars behind him. But you never know. There's so many damaged cars here. They could all get a good push and a good run and make some mess towards the end and see if they can win.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that's almost what you rely on a lot of the time in these super speedway races. Is there's a lot of luck in it. There's a lot of luck. Not sure if these guys are going to be able to do sort of with the damaged cars skill-wise to try and get through. But if a wreck does happen in front of them and they're far enough behind it, they're able to sort of dodge and avoid it. Then we'll be able to hopefully get them getting a bit of a good result for themselves, because the start of the race with all those guys who have damage hasn't really turned out.
I'll tell you what, that 23 car of Tristan Yellen's a pretty snazzy looking car. I like the look of that.
Yeah, that's one of the JP Simshed cars. He's hooked up with that group, so they always have very nice looking paint schemes in the V8s and sports cars and everything that they run. JP Korea actually runs things over there, so yeah, great looking stock car as well. So hopefully he's able to keep it looking as good as it does right now and come away with a really good finish.
Yeah, and although there was that huge wreck at the start there on lap 5, I think it was, there's still a lot of cars rolling around here.
Yeah, a lot of guys not chucking in the towel just yet, so I think we may see a few engines blow with the cooling damage that some of these cars have got. But yeah, it remains to be seen, of course, how bad each one is. We're just about to go green, I believe. We are, and Jason Martin leads them away. It looks as though Callo's stunk very well, and Jacob might be sticking on the outside well as well. Hopefully not attempting the side draft quite as close as we saw earlier on with those two bikes that came together. Of course, that last caution.
Yeah, and I thought Steve Williams might want to try and get in that gap here, but he's not going to because he's got the 25. Actually, that's not Steve Williams, is it?
It is Steve Williams.
Yeah, it is Steve Williams.
Yeah, the 98 and the 25 of Aaron Wilton teammates up there on the top row, working together, try and make a little bit of inroad on this front line, which has really gone away from them. We've got another car jumping to the outside there. Who was that? Orange. That's Jake Maloney in the number 29. He started right down the back as well, so he's made a great run through. That car's absolutely pristine, and we know how fast Jake is, so expect to see him, if he can get some help up there, making a run at the lead very shortly.
Yeah, he's gone from 7th to almost 2nd. The 024's gone up there with a little bit of help. They can get another car up there, which will be pretty interesting, but Jason Martin just continues to hold the inside with Callow pushing him.
Making a big run there at the top. There's only the two of them, so just having a look at how it's going. I think there's a little bit of an incident further back in the pack as well. I think I saw two cars get into one another. Looks as though Skurlock's gone down, and the yellow flag is out one more time. So looks as though Phil Otto might have been involved in that as well. I'm just having a quick look back to actually see what happened there, because I definitely saw one of the cars check up. I think it was the 083 of Shields. Got into the back potentially of Norman Clark, which may have kicked that entire thing off. I definitely... Skurlock in the back of the 67, so what I saw might have been a reaction to that. Looks as though one of the other cars has got into the front of... we had Skurlock spinning around. I don't think Otto was actually in that. I think he was carrying damage from earlier on, so unfortunate for those guys involved in that one. And we've actually still got the number 67 of Riley Blythe just making its way back to the pits, and looks as though he's probably going to actually take a tow for that.
Yeah, I think it looks like the 67 was carrying a lot of damage anyway, and it looks like he was in the middle there, and he's Skurlock's coming down the bottom holding his line, and the 67 just sort of cuts across his nose. It's probably one of these new guys. That's kind of a lesson there.
Yeah. So what we might actually try to do while we've got the opportunity of a caution is to actually just try and go back. We might just try and reboot the stream and just see if we can sort out a few of the picture issues that we're having here, and we'll try to come back for the green flag. So bear with us.